Chosen one, pause for a moment. This message did not find you by accident. While others were distracted, tested, and pulled into fear, something powerful happened in the unseen realm. At the exact same time, you broke cycles, silenced attacks, and overcame battles you didn't even realize were connected. 1,000 obstacles fell together because you were never meant to fight them one by one. This was a simultaneous victory, quiet, precise, divinely timed. You may feel calm instead of excited. That's how you know it's real. When demons lose power, they don't announce it. They disappear. And today, this message is here to confirm what already shifted in your favor. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will explain why everything changed at once and why it can never go back to how it was before. Before we go deeper, you must connect with this energy. Like this video to align with the message. Comment below, "Thank you, God, for protecting me from what was fake." And subscribe to the channel to send your signal to the universe, because messages like this don't find everyone, only the chosen ones. The battle was never just one problem. For a long time, it felt like your life was stuck because of one single problem. You kept pointing at one person, one situation, one delay, or one mistake, and thinking, if only this one thing would change, everything would be better. But what you didn't see back then is that this was never just one battle. It was a whole system built around the same wound. That wound could have been rejection, abandonment, betrayal, or simply feeling unseen and unappreciated. From that one wound, many struggles were feeding themselves quietly. Fear came from it. Self-doubt grew from it. Exhaustion sat on top of it. Confusion wrapped itself around it. Even the people who hurt you were somehow connected to the same weak spot in your heart. That's why no matter what you fixed on the surface, something still felt off. You changed environments, distanced yourself from people, tried to stay positive, but the heaviness returned again and again. Not because you were failing, but because the real source hadn't been healed yet. Here's the part that matters most. When God finally touched the root, everything connected to it lost its power at the same time. There was no need to fight each problem separately. No need to confront everyone. No need to explain your pain again and again. The healing didn't come as noise. It came as release. That's why the shift felt sudden. One moment you were tired, questioning, and emotionally drained, and the next, something lifted. Not excitement, not chaos, just relief. This is why you may feel calm instead of emotional right now. When the root problem is healed, your nervous system relaxes. Your mind stops racing. The inner war goes quiet. And when that happens, all the smaller battles fall apart on their own. Fear doesn't make sense anymore. Self-doubt doesn't hit as hard. Old triggers don't control you the way they used to. You didn't get stronger by force. You became free by healing. What's important to understand is that this wasn't luck, and it wasn't random timing. This happened because you endured longer than most people would. You stayed when it hurt. You kept going, even when answers didn't come. That endurance allowed God to work on the deepest level, not just the visible one. And once that deepest level was touched, everything built on it collapsed naturally. That's why you don't feel the need to chase closure anymore. You don't feel the urge to explain yourself. You don't feel desperate to fix things that once consumed your thoughts. The battle wasn't won by confrontation. It was won by restoration. And when the root is healed, the branches die quietly. If people are changing, let them. If old problems no longer scare you, trust that feeling. This wasn't one problem ending. This was many battles ending at once, because the real source has finally been dealt with. Your silence became a weapon. For a long time, you believed that being strong meant speaking up, defending yourself, and making sure people understood your side of the story. You thought if you explained clearly enough, proved your intentions honestly enough, or reacted at the right moment, things would finally change. But what you slowly discovered, often through pain, was that some battles are not won by words. They are won by distance. They are won by restraint. They are won the moment you decide not to engage. Your silence was not weakness. It was strategy, even if you didn't realize it at the time. When you stopped responding to provocation, something shifted. The noise inside your life began to fade. You stopped pouring energy into situations that were designed to drain you. And in that quiet space, your power returned. Silence created a boundary that arguments never could. Negative forces feed on reaction. Chaos survives on emotion. Every time you explained yourself to someone who had already decided not to understand you, you were giving them access. Every time you reacted in anger or hurt, you were opening a door. But the moment you went quiet, not cold, not bitter, just calm, you closed that door completely. And when access is removed, control disappears. This is why things changed when you stopped talking. People who once pushed your buttons suddenly had nothing to push. Situations that once triggered anxiety lost their grip. You weren't suppressing yourself, you were conserving yourself. That's wisdom. That's growth. And that's why silence became your weapon without you ever raising your voice. There is something ancient about this kind of power. It's the kind that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't seek revenge. It simply withdraws energy from places where it doesn't belong. When you pulled your energy back, you returned it to yourself. And when you are whole, manipulation no longer works. You didn't win because you fought harder. You won because you stopped fighting battles that were never meant to be yours. You chose peace over proving, alignment over reaction, clarity over chaos. That decision confused those who relied on your emotional responses to feel important, but it freed you. Now, your calm speaks louder than your explanations ever did. Your absence carries more weight than your presence once did. And the demons that once circled you, conflict, doubt, emotional exhaustion, lost their power not because you destroyed them directly, but because you starved them completely. Silence didn't make you invisible. It made you unreachable. And that's the difference. You passed a test. Without knowing it, there was a moment in your life that didn't look important at the time. No signs in the sky, no warning, no voice telling you, this is a test. It felt like just another hard situation, another disappointment, another moment where you felt pushed to your limit. You were tired, emotionally drained. You had every reason to react, to lash out, to walk away bitter, or to accept something less than what you deserved just to stop the pain. Anyone would have understood if you had. But you didn't do that, and that's the part you may not realize yet. You passed something sacred without even knowing you were being watched. Heaven doesn't test people loudly. There are no announcements, no countdowns, no second chances explained in advance. The real tests arrive quietly, disguised as everyday struggles. They come when no one is clapping for you, when no one is giving advice, when it feels like your choice won't matter anyway. That's exactly when your decision mattered the most. You chose peace when anger would have been easier. You chose dignity when settling would have been quicker. You chose to walk away without causing damage, even though your heart was hurting. That choice wasn't weakness, It was maturity. It showed restraint. It showed self-respect. And most importantly, it showed trust in something bigger than the moment. You may have thought you were losing at that time. It probably felt unfair. It may have felt like you were the only one doing the right thing while others got away with their behavior. But what you didn't see was that your calm response unlocked something powerful. The moment you chose peace over reaction, protection was activated around you, not later, not after long explanations, immediately. Authority was also released, inner authority, the kind that doesn't need approval, the kind that doesn't shake when challenged. That's why, after that moment, you started feeling different, less reactive, more grounded, harder to provoke. You didn't become cold, you became clear. That test changed how life responds to you now. Situations that once drained, you no longer have the same access. People who could once influence your emotions can't reach you like before. That's not coincidence. That's the reward of passing a test you never knew you were taking. You didn't pass because you were perfect. You passed because you were honest, controlled, and aligned with peace. And once that level is unlocked, life doesn't send you back to the same lessons again. This victory happened in the spirit first. What you're feeling right now may seem confusing if you expected fireworks, loud celebration, or intense emotions after everything you've been through. Instead of excitement, there's a strange calm. Instead of chaos, there's quiet. That's because this victory didn't happen on the outside first. It happened deep within you. And inner victories rarely make noise. They settle, they ground, they bring stillness where there used to be constant mental battles. For a long time, fear spoke loudly in your life. It questioned your choices, your worth, and your future. Anxiety kept your mind running in circles, replaying scenarios that never came true. But now, notice how those voices have softened. They're not gone because you forced them away. They left because they lost their power. When something is truly resolved at the spiritual level, it doesn't keep fighting for attention. It simply fades. This is why real wins don't always come with celebration. They come with certainty, a deep knowing that says, it's finished. You may not be able to explain it to others, but your body feels it. Your breathing is lighter. Your thoughts are clearer. You're not constantly bracing for impact anymore. That's not numbness. That's safety returning to your system. When destructive forces are removed, they don't create drama on their way out. They disappear quietly. No final argument. No last attack. No emotional storm. And peace replaces the noise they once created. That peace is not emptiness. It's strength. It means your inner world is no longer under threat. You might notice that situations which once triggered panic no longer have the same effect. Things that would have sent you into overthinking now feel manageable. That doesn't mean life is perfect. It means fear is no longer in control. And when fear loses control, clarity takes its place. This kind of victory also changes how you move through the world. You're more patient, less reactive, more selective with your energy. You don't rush to prove anything. You don't feel the need to explain yourself constantly. That's because your spirit already knows the truth. Peace is not passive. It's evidence that something was won. Loud victories impress people. Quiet victories transform lives. And what you're experiencing now is transformation. It's the sign that the hardest part is already over. Even if the results are still unfolding, people changed because the energy shifted. You may have started noticing something unusual lately. People who once talked to you daily are suddenly quiet. Some who used to question you, control you, or insert themselves into your decisions now seem distant. Others watch from the sidelines without saying much at all. At first, this can feel confusing, even a little painful. You might wonder if you did something wrong or if you changed too much. But this shift didn't happen because of a mistake. It happened because your energy changed. When your inner state rises, not everyone can stay connected to you the same way. Before, people had access to your emotions, your time, and your reactions. They knew how to reach you, how to influence you, and sometimes how to benefit from your openness. But when you healed, became calmer, and stopped reacting the way you used to, that access quietly closed. No argument was needed. No explanation required. The door simply isn't open anymore. This is what happens when your spiritual level changes. Life reorganizes itself around your new state. People who were comfortable with the old version of you may feel uneasy now, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because they can't interact with you the same way. Control doesn't work when someone becomes self-aware. Manipulation fails when someone becomes grounded. Some people will drift away without a goodbye. Others will stay silent and observe, trying to understand what changed. And a few may disappear completely. This isn't rejection, it's protection. You're no longer meant to carry everyone with you into the next phase of your life. Certain connections belonged to a chapter that has already closed. It's important not to take this personally. You didn't outgrow people by becoming better than them. You outgrew dynamics that no longer matched who you are. Alignment doesn't punish, it filters. It keeps what's real and releases what was only there for a season. You may also notice that you feel less affected by their behavior now. Their silence doesn't disturb you the way it once did. Their opinions don't hold the same weight. That's a sign of maturity, not coldness. You're learning to move forward without dragging emotional baggage behind you. As your energy stabilizes, new connections will form naturally, ones that don't rely on control, confusion, or emotional dependence. These relationships will feel easier, safer, and more balanced. Trust this process. Not everyone who leaves is a loss. Some departures are proof that you're finally aligned with who you're becoming. You didn't lose anything. You recovered yourself. At some point, you may have looked around your life and felt like you had lost too much. People, opportunities, routines, even parts of yourself. It may have felt like things were taken from you unfairly, leaving empty spaces behind. But with time and clarity, a deeper truth has started to reveal itself. You didn't actually lose anything that was meant to stay. What left had already finished its purpose in your life. What expired fell away naturally. It wasn't ripped from you. It reached its end. And even though it hurt at the time, that ending created space for something far more important. Your return to yourself. You're no longer scattered, overgiving, or constantly adjusting to keep others comfortable. You're present, grounded, whole. This is why your confidence feels different now. It's quieter, but stronger. It doesn't come from hoping people will approve of you or situations will work out in your favor. It comes from an inner knowing that says, I trust myself. You don't need constant reassurance anymore because your soul feels settled, anchored. And when someone is anchored, they don't drift with every opinion or reaction around them. You may notice that you no longer chase validation the way you used to. You don't explain yourself excessively. You don't seek attention to feel seen. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care in a healthier way. You've learned that your worth doesn't increase when others agree with you, and it doesn't decrease when they don't. This shift isn't ego. Ego demands recognition and control. Healing creates peace and self-respect. Ego reacts. Healing responds, or doesn't respond at all. And that's the difference you're living now. What stayed in your life after everything fell apart is real. The connections that remain don't drain you. The goals you still hold feel aligned, not forced. Even your dreams feel calmer, clearer, and more achievable. You're building from truth now, not from fear. You didn't shrink through loss. You expanded through clarity. You didn't fall behind. You came back to yourself. And that recovery is worth more than anything you thought you lost. The overflow is internal. First, many people believe that overflow means visible success, more money, better status, recognition from others. But the truth is, real overflow always begins somewhere no one can see. It begins inside you. What you're experiencing right now isn't just a change in circumstances, it's a change in control. You are no longer ruled by fear, confusion, or emotional chaos. You are starting to lead your own mind instead of being dragged by it. Notice how your thoughts feel different now. You don't spiral the way you used to. When a problem appears, your first response isn't panic. It's pause. You take a breath. You assess. You choose. That alone is a powerful form of wealth. Clarity is rare. Calm decision-making is rare. And you're stepping into both. This inner order didn't come overnight. It came from lessons, losses, and moments where you had to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. Over time, your mind learned safety again. And when the mind feels safe, it stops creating imaginary threats. That's why your confidence feels steady instead of fragile. You trust yourself to handle whatever comes next. With this inner stability, your choices are changing. You no longer say yes just to avoid conflict. You don't rush into decisions just to feel relief. You weigh things carefully. You listen to your intuition. That wisdom is overflow in its earliest form. Before abundance shows up externally, it shows up as discernment. Outer blessings follow this shift naturally, not because you're forcing outcomes, but because your energy is no longer scattered. When your inner world is organized, your actions become aligned. You show up consistently. You recognize opportunities without desperation. You attract what matches your state instead of chasing what drains you. This is how divine overflow works. It doesn't arrive loudly. It settles in quietly, changing how you think, how you respond, and how you move through life. Money, success, and recognition may come later, but when they do, you'll be ready to hold them without losing yourself. You're not overflowing because of what you have. You're overflowing because of who you've become inside. And that kind of abundance doesn't disappear. It multiplies. What happened cannot be undone. You can't return to the old version of yourself even if you tried. Awareness changed you. Strength replaced fear. Discernment replaced confusion. This is not a phase. It's a level. And now, life will respond differently to you because you are different. Chosen one, this message didn't reach you by chance. It reached you because the shift already happened. Stay grounded, stay grateful, stay aligned. What collapsed will not return. And what's coming next will require the stronger version of you that now exists.